On this episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast, we're talking about The Dusk in Us by Converge. That's right. We're doing another Converge episode.
Another Converge episode, only a newer one.
A newer one, indeed.
Yeah.
This is the third Converge episode I've done.
Mm-hmm. It's two for me.
The second one for you, so. Okay. Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Bronze Metalist podcast. I'm Kale.
I'm OJ.
And we're two professional broadcasters that also happen to love metal, so we're talking about it.
Mm-hmm. That's what we do.
It's what we do here.
Once a week.
Bronze Metalist podcast, once a week.
Actually, we do it during the day, too, but we're not being recorded.
Yeah. For your information.
Yeah. Just so you know.
Just so you know. So what's up with you?
Not a whole lot. It's Wednesday. Came here on my bike. It was a great night for a ride.
Yeah, it's not too bad outside.
Mm-hmm.
Temperature-wise, I mean, the sun is covered up by a layer of cloud.
It's cloudy.
A little cloudy
It's not supposed to rain or anything, is it?
I think there's a chance. No, I don't think so.
Yep, there's a chance.
Oh, there's a chance.
It's gonna rain on me on my way home.
Oh, well,
On my motorcycle, on my hog.
have fun with that.
Yeah, I'll probably slip and die. Last time we talked. Have a good night.
Bye. Now we can't say that. Can't say that.
No.
So things that have happened in the last week. I got some stuff.
Okay.
I showed off some of my Aaron West and the Roaring 20s merch that I finally got.
Indeed, the
After
cool jacket.
Ordering it like 2 months ago.
Pen down.
My pen fell.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I ordered it like 2 months ago, and there was a manufacturing delay. I don't know if that was with the vinyl or with the merch that I ordered, but yeah, I got a cool denim jacket with a sort of silk screen, not silk screen.
Yeah, it might be
silk
qualified as silk screen.
Something on the back of the Running Towards the Light, one of the songs off of their new album, probably my favorite song off of the new album. And then I got the album itself and a stencil.
Nice.
It came with a stencil of just 20.
That way you can go around your neighborhood and you can tag things like
yeah,
sure.
So people will know that the number 20 exists.
What does it mean?
What does it mean? 20. Who is this 20 character? Minot police are reporting the presence of a new gang.
The 20.
Only known as 20.
We don't know how many of them are, but we can guess.
We can make an educated guess and say that there might be at least somewhere between 19 and 21 of them.
Somewhere in the middle.
Somewhere
Not sure
in the middle.
Exactly what.
Not sure precisely what number. Other things that happened. E3 got going.
Sure.
Still going, I think.
How long does E3 go?
I honestly don't know. I think it starts on Sunday and maybe goes till I don't know. I never know when it finishes. I know like the big conferences usually get over with in the first couple of days. Today might have been the last day. I don't know. It would make sense if it was E3 and it was 3 days.
Sure.
But I honestly don't know.
But it's not.
It's probably more than 3 days.
Yeah.
But some cool stuff that got showed off so far that I'm excited about. I watched the new trailer for Halo Infinite.
Nice.
Or in my head, Halo 6.
Halo 6, yeah. Well, is it actually the sixth iteration?
Yeah, it's
the
the
game?
sixth. It's the sixth main series game.
Sure.
Featuring Master Chief as the main character, but they're calling it Halo Infinite because they wanted to move away from numbered titles for a while for some reason.
And you showed me a clip. He travels around with a little girl on this one.
Yeah, yeah. He has his little adopted daughter. It's like The Last of Us, but with aliens instead of mushroom zombies.
That'd be a great crossover.
That would be a pretty good. Master Chief and his daughter.
The Chief of Us.
The chief. The Chief of Us. The last of the Spartans. I don't know.
Something
but
like that.
yeah, I'm excited for that. I really like the look of the trailer. I love the new art style. I am cautiously optimistic about the story. They have a new writer and shit-canned the one who wrote Halo 5.
That's probably good.
Well, I don't know if they shit canned him, but
They parted ways.
They parted ways. He is no longer the lead writer for their games, which I think was a good decision because I despised Halo 5's campaign. And this is the guy that wrote Halo Wars 2 for them, which I haven't played, but I've heard lots of good things about the narrative of Halo Wars 2. And, I've seen clips and whatnot, and I like what I see. So
nice.
I'm hoping that his writing direction is a bit more satisfactory than what we got in Halo 5 because I was not impressed with that one.
Not happy.
And I love, like I said, I love the art style. They kind of did sort of a mashup of the two versions of the art style, sort of the Halo 4 art style that has been in the last couple of games, and then the classic, Halo 2, Halo 3 art style. And so Chief's new suit is sort of a combination of the two, and sort of takes the best elements of both, sort of the size and the bulkiness of Halo 4's design, but sort of the more sleek, or at least sleek looking appearance of the earlier suits, and it just makes it, he looks beefy, which what I liked a lot about the the redesign for 4 and 5 was that Chief finally looked like a big walking tank. He was still very agile and could move around, but he finally looked like a big, huge walking tank that could take, a ton of plasma bolts to the chest and keep moving. Whereas in like 2 and 3, 1, he was pretty bulky. 2 and 3, the suit was a little too sleek and streamlined, and if you imagine the man that would be inside of that suit,
it'd be Doug Jones.
Yeah, it's kind of Doug Jones a little bit. Very, very sleek and skinny sort of guy, not what you imagine as a super soldier. Especially now, when you think super soldier now, you would think like Captain America, and of course Chris Evans is jacked as hell. So you don't think a skinny dude. So I appreciate how big and weighty he looks, and they already established a supporting character, a human supporting character for once in a Halo game, because we haven't really had one since Sergeant Johnson died at the end of Halo 3. And so now there's this bearded guy that's been stranded for a while and ends up finding Chief floating in space and wakes him up. And after watching that trailer, I kind of had that Rosa Diaz reaction from Brooklyn Nine-Nine, where she gets a puppy and she's like, like my reaction was like, I've only known this guy for a couple of minutes, but if anything happens to him, I will kill everyone in this room and then myself. I will protect this sweet poor man.
I have to watch this show.
Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Absolutely, it is a fantastic show. Absolutely amazing. Other trailers, new Doom Eternal stuff. Have you watched any of that yet?
I haven't seen the new trailers yet. No, I've only seen what was available before E3.
Yeah, give them a look. I'm not quite sure that the HUD has changed in the last year, like sort of the design of the Doomslayer's HUD, and I'm not quite like, I'm sure the game will be fun as hell, and I like some of the stuff they're setting up where it's not just, hey, fun as hell, but like some of the stuff that they're setting up, they've got like the Sentinel homeworld, and then apparently you're going to be doing stuff on Heaven. Of course, there's Mars, there's Hell, there's Phobos, there's Earth. So Doomslayer's going on a fucking extra dimensional journey.
Nice.
And presumably murdering everything he sees. There's a clip that I saw where he fires himself out of a BFG 10,000, which is awesome.
That's great.
And yeah, but they changed the HUD design. Like the one that they had last year for E3 was pretty much the exact same HUD from Doom 2016. And the way that they have it look now, I'm not a huge fan of. It's, I think, meant to slightly emulate the original sort of Doom HUD a little bit. Obviously, it's much more high fidelity and whatnot than the pixelated 2D HUD from the original Doom. But I'm not quite sure how I feel about that. And then they added grunts and whatnot for when the Doomslayer gets hit. He goes, and I don't like those.
You don't like it at all?
Because they sound like Minecraft grunts. They sound to me like the early Minecraft grunts when Steve would get hit and go, "Oh, oh, oh." It sounds like that. I swear.
And that's a little distracting.
It's a little distracting.
Yeah.
It's like I hope you can tweak the volume of that, because it's fine that they're there, I think, and that's a thing that's in a lot of first-person games, is sort of little sounds that let you know that you got hit. But I just feel like the Doomslayer isn't the type of character that would acknowledge pain. It's like you could give a little maybe a little funk noise,
sure,
and maybe a little vibration on the controller, and that's enough. Obviously, other than seeing your armor or your health go down on the screen to know that you got hit, you don't need to go and it gets more intense and more sort of guttural the lower health you have. But I hope so. But I just don't know how I feel about that. That just little nitpicky things.
Yeah.
Because other than that, it looks fucking awesome. And I'm still very excited for that. And that's dropping November 22nd.
Nice.
Of this year. Cyberpunk 2077 trailers. I'm hyped for that. New game from CD Projekt Red. It was announced years ago, eons ago. We finally got stuff last year for it. And a gameplay demo and whatnot, and it looks gorgeous and fantastic. And of course, it's made by CD Projekt Red, so they've got my money, basically. Like even though I never finished The Witcher 3,
sure,
it's an amazing experience that I loved every second of that I have played. And since I got it for PC, I still haven't really dug into it, just because I have such a short attention span for video games these days. I don't know what it is.
Yeah, I'm kind of there too.
Like, I want to do other things while I'm gaming. Like, I've been part of the reason why I've been playing Minecraft so much is because I can watch Critical Role while I'm playing Minecraft, because I have a year and a half of 4-hour-long D&D sessions to watch in order to catch up. And so that's going to take me basically the rest of the year.
And you can't do that if your attention is fully focused on the game.
On the game, which is kind of what The Witcher requires, because it's a fairly difficult game, and it's a really good story too. And I don't want to, I want to give it the attention it deserves. But I have other things that I want to be doing, and those things take a lot of time. Because I don't want to just watch one episode of Critical Role a week, because then I'll never be done.
No.
Because that's the pace that they are at. So,
well, it's a 4-hour show.
Yeah, it's a 3 to 4 hour show, and I really enjoy watching that too. I don't want to make it seem like it's a chore, because I really enjoy watching that. I held off on watching it for a long time. There's something sort of in the back of my mind that's like, oh, it's so popular, who cares? But then I got some suggestion. I don't remember what it was on YouTube, because people had told me to watch it before, and I was like, I don't have time to do that. But then I got some. There was not a suggestion on YouTube. I came across a specialty dice on Reddit, and it is a one-sided dice.
A one-sided dice.
I can't quite exactly explain how it works. It's basically like a loop that sort of goes back around itself, where it's got like 4 sides, but it rotates, so one side will always be facing up. And they describe that as the Wil Wheaton dice.
The Wil Wheaton, yes.
Because when Wil Wheaton did his guest appearance on Critical Role, he rolled somewhere on the order of like 20 plus natural ones. And apparently that sort of follows him around. Like, whatever tabletop game he plays, he has horrible luck with dice. So I learned about the Curse of Wil Wheaton, and I was like, okay, this is the sort of stuff that goes on. I should really start watching.
I think it would be funny on his third crit one, he rolls it, and he even starts saying, "Oh, shut up, Wesley."
I feel like it. Wil Wheaton seems like a pretty good dude. So, but yeah. So yeah, I'm excited tentatively for Cyberpunk 2077. That's going to be one of those things where I'm going to have to sit down and like the last game that I really sat down and shut everything else out to play and finish was Red Dead 2.
Right.
I blazed through Red Dead 2.
Which I haven't done yet. I've owned it for how long now? Since February.
Since like February.
Yeah.
You're where we last left you.
Basically,
much.
yeah. And I need to get into. Well, the problem is that it's daunting. You know.
Yeah, it's a big game, but here's the thing: it's not quite as long as you might think it is.
Is it as long as like finishing everything in Skyrim?
I wouldn't say finishing everything in Skyrim. I would say, like, you know how you can power through the main quest of Skyrim.
Sure,
fairly quickly.
Yeah,
fairly easily. Think of it as if you were powering through the main quest plus like companions.
Okay.
And maybe throw in like College of Winterhold.
All right.
Because you can power through all of that stuff really easily if you don't get distracted and you know don't bother with the side quests. Although, because the thing about Red Dead is there aren't a lot of there's not nearly as many distracting side quests in Red Dead that you have to do in order to feel like you've finished the game.
Okay.
I did all of them because it's Rockstar, and I know that they put a lot of time and effort into their side quests,
and it's going to be awesome.
And and all of them were very entertaining. And there's all sorts of little homesteads that you can encounter and robberies you can do, and there are a lot of little things that you could do. But in order to get the same effect from the story, you don't necessarily have to. The only like meter or anything that affects how the story ends is your honor level. And you can increase that by just riding through town and saying howdy to everyone. And there are certain things, but you could probably power through the main storyline relatively quickly. It's still probably like maybe 20 hours.
Really? I can do that.
Maybe longer than that, but comparable to like God of War.
Okay.
Relatively comparable to God of War.
Which I've played that a couple of times.
Yeah. So if you've managed to finish God of War a couple of times, you could totally get through Red Dead. But yeah, I'm gonna have to do that with The Witcher at some point.
At some point,
shut everything else out and do that, because The Witcher is an extremely daunting game. The first time I played it, I played it probably solid for a couple of months.
Really?
Played it, put some time into it like once a day or every other day. And I probably only got 2/3 of the way through it.
Really?
And that was just the main story. The one of the DLCs is another 40 hours of content.
Damn.
And that was the DLC.
That's downloadable extras.
It's not a DLC. It's an expansion.
Oh, okay.
I should rephrase that. Technically, it's downloadable content, but it is really like an old school expansion that you would get for an RPG.
Wow.
Because that's how CD Projekt Red rolls, and I love them for it. The big thing about CD Projekt Red's E3 presentation that you have probably seen memes of already,
sure,
both you, OJ, and you, the listener, is Keanu Reeves' surprise appearance at the tail end of CD Projekt Red's presentation, because he is a character in the game. I don't know anything about his character other than he's got a metal arm, and he says, "Wake the fuck up, samurai. We've got a city to burn." And it's awesome. And he came out and just was himself for a couple of minutes, and it was the most glorious thing I've ever seen.
And what was the heckle?
It wasn't even... I mean, you could call it a heckle in the sense that it was something that somebody shouted at him from the crowd. But it was... he said... He was pointing up at the screen and just... "Guys, I gotta tell you, it's breathtaking." And then someone went, "You're breathtaking!" And then he just fires back with, "You're breathtaking! All of you are breathtaking!" And it was amazing because it's Keanu Reeves, and everything he does is wonderful. I love that man. He's fantastic.
Then he told everybody, be excellent to each other.
Basically. I'm thinking about starting a cult.
Sure.
Based around Keanu Reeves, and that is like the golden rule of that cult is be excellent to each other.
It'd be like dudism, kind of.
Yeah, it'd be very much like dudism, but with less white Russians.
Sure.
And more, church service would just be watching a different Keanu movie every week.
Sure.
There are many of them. So and then you can revisit them.
Congregation, today we read from the book of Point Break.
Today we read from the book of Lake House. We reach one of my favorite books, John Wick, Chapter 1.
Please clutch your dog. And
please. Yeah, that'd be the other thing is dogs are a big part of the religion.
Yeah.
And all of the tithes go to children's hospitals.
Yes,
because that's what he would want.
Of course.
I'm gonna make this happen. Whoa. Also, free kung fu lessons.
I know kung fu.
I know kung fu. Yeah. Do we want to get into the album?
Sure.
Okay, so this week's album, as we said in the intro, is The Dusk in Us by Converge. They are an American metalcore band, or you could, I like to call them metallic hardcore just because they're kind of that older style. They got started Salem, Massachusetts, 1990. The two members of the band that remained from that period were both like 15.
Sure.
When they started doing that, and they're still going.
Wow.
Today.
So they're not much younger than me.
Not too much, yeah. I think Jake is, if he was 15 in 1990, that would make him... You do it. You're better at math.
If he was 15 in 1990, he'd be 25 in 2000. He'd be 35 in 2010. And then, so he'd be 44. Something like that.
That was some Common Core shit that you just did right there.
Sure.
You divide it up into manageable chunks. That is the a quick diversion about Common Core is I didn't have to learn it, but from the outside perspective, looking at it, it is hard to make sense of on paper. But the basic idea is that you are teaching kids sort of a system of how to divide the math up into manageable chunks in their head, which is, to me, how people normally do math in their head anyway, but that's a skill that you sort of have to develop on your own because nobody tells you
right, which I did. I didn't do Common Core either.
Yeah, but like I learned, probably a lot later than I should have, that it's easier to do math in my head if I sort of separate it out into little chunks, because I'm terrible at math anyway, so I practically have to say it out loud. It's like in Game of Thrones when Davos's lips are moving while he's reading. Grown-ups don't make their lips move when they read. Grown-ups shouldn't have to sound out the math out loud, but good God, I suck at math.
So Common Core, by the way, sounds like a really cool type of metal.
Sure, yeah. Well, it's the Common Core.
They're a Common Core band. They're very middle of the road. They're kinda...
extremely middle of the road. They will play every one of their albums has an example of every type of core type music on it.
Hardcore, metalcore,
grindcore,
applecore. It's all
mathcore.
Yeah.
Speaking of grindcore, metalcore, mathcore, Converge. So the album that we're talking about today came out in 2017. It was recorded at God City Studios in Salem, Massachusetts, in their hometown. Kurt Ballou as the producer. He's also their guitarist. If you didn't listen to our previous episode, the members of Converge, you got Jake Bannon on vocals, and he is also their visual artist, their graphic designer. He is sort of a artist in his own right, painter, usually does watercolors, stencils, that sort of thing. He'll make a stencil and then watercolor over it and do that sort of thing. That's sort of his art style, kind of like collage and watercolor and stuff. Right. Kurt Ballou is their lead guitarist, only guitarist,
right?
And backing vocalist and sound engineer, record producer.
And he does a lot of other bands.
Oh, yes, he does. Yeah. Very, very many. I should have also added Jake Bannon is the co-owner of Death Wish Records. They have signed a fair amount of bands that I enjoy. Oathbreaker was on there. Deaf Heaven was on there at one point. There have been a couple other.
What's that Canadian band? Something The Archers. I think they're on Death Wish. Summon the Archers, Release the Archers.
That I
They
don't
have
know.
a woman who sings operatically.
I don't know that. I was thinking of Behold the Arctopus.
No.
That's not it. Ben Collar on drums. He's an extremely busy man. Converge is his primary project, but I think he's in no less than like 5 other bands. That he will either record with or tour with. It's like he's always busy. He's always drumming. The man is not wanting for drum work.
He's probably in a cafe somewhere.
Yes,
drumming.
As we discussed last week with Sepultura. Yeah, with Sepultura, he is the drummer for Kill Be Killed, the sort of super group with Max Cavalera, Greg Puciato, and Troy Sanders from Mastodon.
They just put out a new album here recently, didn't they?
I don't know. I think, as far as I know, I think their only album is their self-titled that came out a few years ago. They might be working on new stuff. I'm not entirely sure, though. But yeah, Nate Newton also on bass and primary backing vocals. Kurt does his stuff, but Nate is the primary backing vocalist and the bassist, and he does a whole bunch of other projects as well. He's got his own band called Old Man Gloom, which he's sort of the front man of. And as the name might suggest, they sort of play sort of a slower, kind of doomy, sort of Neurosis style of music that I think I'm pretty sure I've listened to them, and that's sort of what it reminded me of.
It's neurotic.
It's neurotic,
Yeah.
sure. I meant the band Neurosis.
Yeah.
OJ. So with that sort of out of the way, do you think this album slaps?
No, I do.
I do indeed.
I do. I enjoy this. A lot of this reminded me of. I was in a band that played an underground scene in the 90s, and a lot of the traveling underground bands that just would go from shitty little place to shitty little place had this sound. This was the sound that they had that seems to now this. I mean. You can buy their album mainstream, whereas these bands back in 1993 and 94,
underground guys.
Yeah, they
the thing
pressed
is
it themselves
in 93 and 94.
Yeah,
that was Converge as well.
Yeah,
it's just the only difference is these guys kept doing it.
Yep,
and are still doing it.
Indeed.
And they had their big breakthrough in 2000 with Jane Doe, or it was 2001 with Jane Doe, and then they've kind of kept going from there and just making raw, kind of a stripped down, noisy, metallic hardcore. Because I think at its heart, most of what Converge does is hardcore
It
punk.
is. Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely hear that.
It's a lot more hardcore punk than it is metal, but there's bits here and there where it's like, yeah, that's metal,
Right.
but very much more leaning to the hardcore side of metal.
Right.
And that's sort of the way they've always been.
Right, they throw that some metal guitar in there, but a lot of the other elements are really just sort of a noise hardcore punk.
Yeah. Especially to me, the vocals. Like Jake is not a metalcore vocalist in the sense that most like people who do vocals for like metalcore or deathcore have a, of course, very aggressive, but generally more controlled style of screaming. Jake's style of vocals to me feel less like he's doing some sort of controlled thing with his diaphragm and everything, and sort of letting it out evenly, and more like he is just pushing that air out as hard as physically possible.
Right.
And that is just the noise. It's so visceral.
Yeah, it sounds like he's being murdered.
Yeah,
He's doing it.
There was one description I heard about Jane Doe, which is other bands have vocalists. Converge has a trained tiger. And that's kind of the way it is. Like it just sounds so painful, but he keeps doing it, and he's kept on doing it. I think he does a little bit more of the easier stuff than he used to on this record, especially. And then I
like the title cut.
Yeah.
There
are 2 slower songs on this album.
There are.
Those being the title track and then Thousands of Miles Between Us. And both of those, a little bit more of one of Jake's other bands sort of bleeds in a little bit more. Jake has his kind of solo project, not really, but it's all his writing, all his songwriting, whereas Converge is mostly the lyrics and Kurt doing the songwriting. It's called Wear Your Wounds, and they have a much more gloomy sort of post-hardcore type sound. Very gloomy, very emotional, very slow typically, and with Jake's sort of very shaky, very I don't know how to describe like his clean singing or almost spoken vocals that he does when things get a little bit softer. It's not good singing.
Well, no, it wouldn't be. He wouldn't get a Tony.
Yeah, Jake Bannon is not going to get a Tony for his clean singing.
For his clean singing, he's not going to Broadway.
Yeah, but it certainly fits with everything that he does.
Yeah, and in fact, with those particular cuts, as you know, I listen to it, in my kitchen with my headphones on. Like the first one that hits is
the title track.
The title track.
The slow one.
And at the end of it, I had to push pause and stare out the window for a while.
Yeah.
Because wow, that was emotionally draining listening to that.
Yeah, the Dusk In Us is and the thing I like about the Dusk In Us that is a little bit different than Thousands of Miles Between Us is the Dusk In Us really builds up.
Yeah.
And that is the measure of, like, Converge has they have at least one song like that on every album, generally speaking, that sort of builds towards the end. There's a great one off of their album, No Heroes, that's called Grim Heart Black Rose. And the last 30 seconds of Grim Heart Black Rose is like one of my favorite things Converge has done. And the rest of the song building up to it is great, but like it's such a great build up. It gets to that end moment and you're like, but yeah, those are the two probably most blatantly emotional songs on the record, but also the opening track, A Single Tear. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That song is there's a line in there which is, when I held you for the first time, I knew I had to survive. And as I understand, that song is about parenthood, but I'm not aware of Jake having kids. I know he's married. I don't think Jake has children, but not that you can't write that if you don't have children.
Sure.
But as far as I know, I don't think he has any kids. But
at his age, he better get going.
Yeah, he's running out of time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do know he is married, but I don't think he has any kids as of right now. But yeah, just a very powerful statement there. Along with just heavy track. Do we want to talk about favorite song, or let's get to the score first? So the score, they made it easy on me. They just had they already had an average out of 17 listed there on Wikipedia, and it's 89, which seems to be a recurring number. 89 for a lot of albums that I would give 100 or something.
Sure.
Albums that are generally accepted to be very good. 89 seems to be right about there.
High B.
Because you'll always get you will always get a couple of those people that rate it a little bit lower.
Sure. And that's why I never trust scores of 100. If somebody gets 100, it's like, man, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
How many reviews does it have?
That many
two?
Yeah. That many people would never give it, 100%. But it generally, when I add all this stuff together, even if it's an amazing album, generally the average doesn't break 90. Which makes sense. Nothing's perfect.
Right.
If someone had already made the perfect album, why would you continue to make albums? Why would anyone keep making music? It's like the perfect thing has already been made. How can we get better? If it scratches literally every itch, why would you keep making music?
Hello, is this Columbia Records? Yeah, you guys can fucking stop now.
You guys can stop. We found the perfect sound.
You don't need to keep. We can do something else.
It's every kind of music at once. This scientifically appeals to literally everyone that can hear.
It's Common Core.
That's what Common Core is. It's music that appeals to the broadest possible genre. So, bring me the horizon.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
But yeah, 89. I thought that was a pretty good result for a great album. I didn't look to see what Jane Doe had for comparison, but I feel like it's probably around there because both of them list as universal acclaim, basically.
Sure.
Where, very few people at the very least went, this is shit. This sucks. Everyone was like, yeah, this is pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's great.
This doesn't sound anything like my Barbra Streisand albums.
3.9 3.9
Boo!
3.9 I give it 3.9 Rontgen. Rontgen. Not bad, but not good, but not terrible either. Bring in the Chernobyl back.
Yeah, indeed.
I fucked up that meme.
That could have been funny.
That could have been funny if only I had not completely stumbled over the delivery. That's my entire life right there. That could have been funny had I been able to use my mouth to form the words correctly and succinctly in a timely manner. I'm incapable of doing that.
You're not incapable of doing that. You just notice harder when you do it wrong.
Yeah, I suppose you've got a point. Favorite songs. What were your favorite songs?
For some reason, the one that sticks out the most to me in my head is "I Can Tell You About Pain."
Yep. I Can Tell You About Pain. I do like that one. I didn't put it down as my favorites. That was the first single they released off of this album.
Yeah,
and that single actually had a B-side.
Really?
That was called Eve. That was another long sort of slow track.
But that wasn't on this.
It was not on this album.
Yeah.
The reason for that is they wrote 18 songs.
Really?
To prospectively put on this album and recorded 18 songs. And according to Kurt, nobody was happy with the final list that went onto the record itself. Like everyone wanted something different.
I want this, but no, I want this, but no, I want this. Well, it's going to be a 6-hour record.
Yeah, they all compromised and put, the songs on here that they did, and they've released most of the other songs as sort of little EPs and B-sides. Like you can find sort of scattered across their discography over the last couple of years, but. Yeah, they released a couple of them, and the other ones are also like the ones that got cut from the album are also great. They could have fit I feel like they could have gone 18 songs because I understand the hesitation. You don't want to put out a package that is a little too daunting. It's like, wow, this is an hour and 20 minutes of Converge. I don't know if I want to sit through all of that.
Plus the DLC.
Plus the DLC. The DLC's 40 hours. Kurt just left the amp on.
It's kind of a low hum.
Yeah. It's a low hum. You hear some like banging in the background. Kurt turned on one of the other amps for a second to dial in a guitar tone or something. It's just 40 hours of Kurt dialing guitar tones basically. I'd listen to that.
Sure, yeah, why not?
That'd be great. But my favorites, I wrote down a bunch. I always do this with albums I really like. I end up just writing down every one that I really like. So I really like the title track.
Love that.
For a short one, I like Cannibals.
Okay, yeah.
That song is about 1:16. Yeah. And that one reminds me a lot of Concubine off of the opener off of Jane Doe. And it's just, that one's practically a grindcore song. I really, really like that song. I love the closing track, Reptilian.
Yes.
God.
Yes.
Just this really sort of ominous atmosphere at the beginning. Just these
that's the song
slow,
that builds.
Yeah, these slow, like kind of clean chords at the beginning. And then just epic pick slide. And then boom, 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 boom. And when that riff resolves and it launches into the main, the first verse of the song, it's also, if you have, some good subwoofers or something, if you were to listen to it in your car and turn it up, and if you have the bass turned a little bit up, you will maybe be afraid that your car is going to shake apart because those bass drums hit hard.
Nice.
If you have a solid, subwoofer, the bass drums there hit very, very hard.
You might break a window.
They're very punchy. I was listening to it on my way to my parents' place over the weekend, and holy shit, it was like my car started shaking, and I was like, oh my god, I forgot how intense this was. Let's turn this down just a little bit. But yeah, if you just like lots of great pick slides in the beginning, like I will always get stoked on a well executed pick slide. Who doesn't like a well executed pick slide?
It is a good thing.
It's
a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
It's like Gojira with pick scraping.
Yeah. And who else does that? I mean, that's a very Gojira thing to do.
Yeah, I can't think of any other band that does that does a Gojira amount of pick scraping. That's their thing, basically. And I think everyone else just sort of leaves it to them. It's like we don't want to copy. If we do this too much, people will accuse us of copying Gojira.
They'll think we're Gojina, and they'll think
Gojina, Gojimbo,
Florida Gojira line.
Florida. Thank you, Uncle Ben.
Yeah, you're welcome.
But I also, I wrote down Single Tear as an honorable mention there. I also really do enjoy Thousands of Miles Between Us, but I like sort of the build up and resolution of the title track a little bit better than Thousands of Miles Between Us. The interesting story with that song, though, with Thousands of Miles Between Us, is that is a title that has been floating around Converge for years.
Really?
They put out a few years ago, and it might have been, I feel like it's something that they've used for other things before, but they put out a DVD a couple years ago of a live performance and other things before this album came out, and that was called Thousands of Miles Between Us. And I think that had like prototypical versions of the song on it, and that one is words. But they did put out the performance. I think there was more on the DVD than just the live performance, but they did eventually put that out on Spotify as its own album, because like the DVD ended up being fairly expensive, because I imagine they didn't make oodles and oodles of them.
Sure.
They made enough, but then you could find it for $40 or whatever, and it's like, I don't want a $40 DVD.
Is it on YouTube? I mean, can you?
I don't think so. Thousands of Miles is not on YouTube. Jane Live is.
Oh, wow.
Jane Live came out at right around the same time as, or maybe a little, I think it was a couple months after the Dusk In Us. It was still 2017, but I believe the Dusk In Us came out early November, and I think Jane Live came out in like December, or maybe it was January of 2017. Either way, it was 2017. Might have been before or after the album. But that full performance is on YouTube and on Spotify and other streaming services, I imagine. And that is one of the best quality live performances I've ever heard.
Nice.
As far as the sound quality, it's amazing, amazing sound quality there, and it's also great for me to. I just love it when bands play full albums live. I find that immensely appealing. I love to hear that, and they did it again this year. I don't know if they're putting it out live, but they did the album that came out after Jane Doe, which is
I don't remember.
It's You Fail Me. You Fail Me. They did that, a full live performance of You Fail Me at this year's Roadrunner Festival in the Netherlands. And I hope they're putting that out as well, because it's more Converge, just more Converge. That's
you can always use more of that.
Yeah, I can always use more Converge, and I'd love to hear it. But I'm tentatively excited for that as a possibility. Do we want to give this a medal? Do we want to hang the medal on its shoulders? Princess Leia's coming up the stairs. Just gonna hang us, give everybody a medal except for Chewbacca.
Because fuck Chewbacca.
Chewbacca doesn't get shit.
No.
He just gets to stand up there. That should be enough. That's all Chewbacca gets. He doesn't. That's all Chewbacca wanted.
Yeah.
They're like, Chewbacca, do you want a medal? And he was like, arr, arr, arr. They're like, well,
Okay.
he shook his head no. They're like, Han, do you know what he's saying? No, I don't know what he's saying. I'm Han's. I don't have a good Han Solo impression.
I don't know what he's saying. I don't know.
That's Harrison Ford now.
That's Harrison Ford. It would be funny if that was Han Solo back in the day.
Original.
Don't get cocky, kid.
Well, just kind of he's kind of down here now.
No, he's gonna.
And if he did that for Indiana Jones too, just Marion, don't look, Marion. Keep your eyes closed. Andy, are you falling asleep? No, it's fine.
I'm just baked out of my mind.
I'm dreaming about flying my plane. Yeah, what medal would you give this?
Man, I have to listen to it again. I mean, at this point, I'm going to give it a silver. I have to give it a silver because I need to listen to it again for it to catch on to me.
That's fair. I'm giving it a gold.
Of course.
I'm a Converge fanboy.
Yes.
I'm not afraid to say that I'm a Converge fanboy, and this album, I think there was some worry with me when it came out that it was almost too clean. Mm-hmm. And the album that came out before this one in 2012, it had been a big gap for new Converge stuff.
For like 5 years.
Yeah. 2012 was All We Love We Leave Behind, and that one was just so clean, and it was so clean and a little too. Parts of it almost felt like that it was too metal, like it was a little too arena metal.
Sure.
And it was not quite as aggressive and feral as Converge needed to be. And they managed to sort of marry the two ideas, where this is extremely well produced and very kind of clean sounding, but it's Converge through and through. It's aggressive. It's not as wild or experimental as Jane Doe, but Jane Doe is kind of an anomaly in their career as far as like the type of music that they put out on that record. They haven't done anything else that is quite as wildly experimental as Jane Doe was.
Right.
I think When Forever Comes Crashing is sort of on that level, but not entirely. But like Jane Doe is very experimental, and then everything else they've done has been more stripped down, hardcore or like metallic hardcore.
Wow.
And this is the evolution of that. And I like to hear it. Now I want more of it sooner than 5 years, because that means we still have another 3 years to go before a new Converge album. And I'd love to hear something else before then.
Well, I've already tweeted at them.
You've already tweeted at Converge?
Yeah.
Why did you tweet at them?
Tell me, we were talking about their album this week.
Did you actually do that?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
That's the sort of shit I do.
Have you been doing that?
Yeah.
This is the first time you've told me that you've been doing that.
I didn't even think about it. It just, I automatically just, oh yeah, we're going to be talking about Bronze Metalist. We're going to be talking about Converge Cult is who they are.
Yeah, you've never brought this up to me.
Oh yeah.
Guerrilla marketing from O.J. Bennett here.
Sorry.
You didn't talk to the fucking CCO here.
I apologize. It was just a reflex tweet.
No, you're fine. I don't give a shit. Keep doing it. That's fine. But yeah, I think I think I've kind of said everything that I have to say about the album.
I think it's a great album.
Yeah,
I think it's awesome.
It's great. It's awesome.
And I have no doubt that upon my third, fourth, and fifth listen, it's going to be elevated to gold.
There you go. And I would say if you are curious about Converge and you're wanting to get into Converge, I think this is a decent in. Along with the two albums preceding it, Axe to Fall, and then All We Love We Leave Behind. Both of those are pretty good inroads to Converge. This one is on the harder edge of their new sound. Like they've kind of had a slightly newer and cleaner sound for those 3 albums, and this is on the harder edge of that. And I can't recommend it enough. It's great, and I enjoy it greatly. So if you enjoy listening to us, you can check us out on our social media pages. We're on Facebook. We're on Twitter. And we always post. Why are you smiling like that?
I wanted to talk about what we're going to do next week.
Oh, yeah. I always skip past that. Go ahead. Please go ahead.
Well, because this album was very, very emotionally, thematically, and everything like that, very deep and very, very strong and very hard and very heavy.
Okay.
I thought maybe, lift a head above water and breathe for a bit. Next week,
I'm excited.
An album that I recently listened to again and went, wow, this is a lot cornier than I remember it being.
Okay.
But it was really good.
Okay.
We're going to go back to 1990, 91.
Okay.
And listen to Them by King Diamond.
All right. Some classic. Well, I know Merciful Fate was like first wave black metal.
First wave of black metal.
Is King Diamond sort of the same style?
It's kind of the same style. It's more thrashy than because he did progress a little bit in his sound and his recording techniques, but
I'm into it.
All right.
I'm into it. Let's getting into some classic ass, black metal grandpa basically is what King Diamond is. He's the OG basically. So
indeed,
I'm into it. I'm excited.
All right.
I'm pumped for that. So as I was saying before, if you want to catch new episodes when they come out, check out our social media pages. We will always be posting that. So whichever one you use more, Twitter, Facebook.
Instagram.
Well,
sometimes.
I mean, we can't we can't really post direct links to episodes.
Oh, sure.
Like they don't let you
on IG.
Yeah, they don't let you put links in descriptions of pictures or anything. Otherwise, I would be doing that, but they don't let you do that. So I just do Twitter and Facebook because they directly connect to Libsyn. So you'll always be able to catch new episodes when they come out if you get notifications from us and share those episodes with your friends. Have your friends check them out if your friends like metal or they're interested in metal and would be interested in hearing us talk about it.
And we'd love to hear from you if you want to message us on one of the hey, you guys suck. All right, okay, thanks for your input.
Sure.
We appreciate that.
I mean, don't encourage fans to shit talk us, okay? I'm not Bert Kreischer, all right?
The machine.
I'm not the machine. I'm not Tom Segura. I don't want to encourage fans to give us shit.
But we'd like feedback.
Yeah, feedback. If there's an album that you think we should check out, feel free to share it with us. I don't usually solicit responses, but go ahead, feel free.
Right on.
In any case, I think it's time for us to wrap up for the night. So. Thank you very much for listening to another episode of the Bronze Metalist Podcast. I'm Cale.
I'm OJ.
Congratulations. You came in at the tail end of that one.
You said congratulations. I said